outnumbered over time. Ouchie, baby. And I'm especially excited because the end of the TV version of us, Representative King, who's here with us today, ended up being what came out of the public version of the Senate Intel Committee. Intel hearing, and then now they go into the private session because they had taken a break, and now they'll go into the private. Your thoughts?
Well, I thought, again, we showed an example of the Republican mistake. Why let Senator Warren get away with bringing up Sally Yates' name? So Comey should have been fired after Sally Yates' testimony. Her testimony had nothing to do with Russia and the 2016 election. Nothing whatsoever. So they throw all this together, and we just sit back and sort of apologize. Also, I think he began by saying that the Assistant Attorney General said that if there was any attempt to muzzle the investigation, he would tell the Congress. Who's even suggesting there's an attempt to muzzle? I mean, why let them get away with that stuff?
So Warner just met with the deputy AG, and they made it clear that that was a request that they made before the departure of the FBI director. But we also just learned that they said there's no word on whether Comey will actually testify, which is obviously being requested.
Right, and it could happen. It could happen that Comey will end up.
And what do we think he's going to say?
You know, I think they're going to go. They're going to try to get the timeline of when he found out he was fired.
Why does it matter?
Well, because I think for the senators, especially the Democratic senators, they like adding to building their case against Trump on this Russian investigation. They're going to ask the question of whether, same question they asked McCabe, which is whether he had the conversation with President Trump on the fact that he personally was not being investigated. So, you know, they're going to ask about the Russian resources that were.
So that's why they want that.
Right. I mean, it is about getting information on record.
So when somebody tells you no, do you think they'll change their answer just because you say it louder?
I don't believe Comey will give that answer. He won't be able to. But if you do, it's what Senator King, Congressman King mentioned, which is the fact that
she's prophesying
exactly is the classified information. The public is not. We don't have access to the classified information, so they will probably gain more information.
We would if it were on a certain server, perhaps. I'm sorry, Congressman.
Yeah, well, that's again. Ask Jim Comey about that. He's the one who investigated it.
Right.
Or ask Uma.
You know what? I can't say this loudly enough. We're still waiting to see in the evidence of collusion or connection or participation between the Russian government and the Trump administration prior to the election. We're still waiting on it. In the meantime, can we get anything else done? Are we able to multitask? Can we talk about health care?
I don't know. It's such a deep distraction right now on such an intense level, and people really, we're giving bait to the Democrats to, move the ball away from us. And I'm so disappointed in so many things right now, and it's not about James Comey being fired. Again, I was one of the people calling for him to be fired. It's the rollout that continues to be so sloppy. And when one of your talking points from one of your top surrogates is the day it happens, we all need to collectively move on, you can do better than that.
So somebody just wrote into that point, just asking, and maybe I could put this to the congressman, when are they going to learn from their mistakes?
I hope they know they're making mistakes. I'm serious. I mean, I think the president is not always being best served here. I mean, the fact is, he is a different type president. But on the other hand, he should be not that hard to adjust to. And when he makes a decision like this, where, as we said, most Republicans agree with him, then they have to go out and they have to be able to articulate that and say why.
And it feels like President Trump is not in control in the team of the message itself, where we were talking about the success of passing the House version of the health care bill. But then we were talking about that last week, and we're back to Russia, which we know is the most toxic subject to talk about in terms of the Trump administration. And so I think that it is such a disservice to the president, which I do believe then stalls the momentum for his legislative agenda. That would include health care and tax reform. The committees are still doing their work in Congress, but the fact is that the Democrats are now they're doubling down. They're saying we are not going to help, and we're going to obstruct, and we're not going to be involved with this.
That's what Obama told them to do.
Right.
That's what he said. Don't rescue the Republicans. He specifically meant about his legacy point of Obamacare. But I guess you could spread that peanut butter all around. Take up the entire slice of bread with that.
If you can push that to 2018 with the midterm elections, and you have these vulnerable Republicans, it becomes challenging for the Republicans.
Dana Schoonover says on Facebook Live, and thank you for our audience tuning in there. We love it. Democrats will win if we keep talking about this non-story. The problem is there are other things going on the Hill, but they're not getting any attention.
Right. I mean, I think we go back to this idea that on the part of the health care bill, which we know is struggling in terms of what the senators are going to push forward on the Republican side, and you have to have a plan that actually works in repealing and replacing Obamacare. We're stuck. I mean, the Republicans get stuck when it all becomes about Russia. But remember, the Democrats were already gambling that they were going to do well next year, although it's still so early on because of health care.
That being said, when you talk about repealing and replacing Obamacare, what about replacing Comey? What does that time frame look like?
I think they have to move quickly in that. They have to get somebody who's unimpeachable. I mentioned someone like Ray Kelly as being an example. I'm sure there's other Ray Kellys around, people who have either been in police or judges, criminal justice, but people who are not in any way have any question about them at all. Because this administration shows it can't handle questions that well. So I get somebody who is out there who's unimpeachable.
They have to find the perfect person? I don't know if
they need to find a person that you will never remember, like Robert Mueller. Yeah. No one ever remembered Robert Mueller was the President George W. Bush.
Because they shouldn't
director.
be the story.
They should not be the political celebrity in the show.
I go back to Facebook Live because I like the little bubbles, and if I'm liking your comments, it's because I've either read them or planning to. Trisha Iverson says, why coddle Comey? It does kind of feel like the Democrats are doing that, though, right?
Can I make another prediction? Because I've made a lot of predictions about Comey.
Please.
He's going to end up with a book deal, doing late-night TV shows,
he probably already has one.
and maybe hosting something himself.
And also get good speaking fees.
Yes, and great, and $200,000 speaking fees.
Because you think he likes the limelight.
I think he's a show pony, and this is coming from someone who myself am a show pony, so I don't knock it.
Stop.
But it's, if you want to be on television, yes, but if you want to be in media, be in media. Like, I agree with you. I didn't remember the name of the head of FBI under Bush.
Robert Mueller?
Why can't we go have someone like that as well?
So our viewers are talking to each other. Gregory Salazar says, yes, Marilyn Reinderneck, let's put this effort into term limits.
In terms of
I think they're just discussing with all of Congress. I think they're just moving on with
Ask Congressman, now Senator King, what he thinks about term limits.
Fact says this is his favorite color wheel in a long time. So we have that going.
Thank you, Harris.
Wait, can I say one thing that I was going to say about Betsy DeVos that I missed during the show? So my college graduation speaker was Matthew Fox. I don't even know if you know who that is, the actor from Lost. Because at Columbia, you can only make a commencement speech if you've gone to Columbia. And people protested him. And he's the most innocuous person. He gave a very nice speech about being an icon in pop culture. College students protest everything.
They're just so angry.
Yes, and I remember people saying that he was beneath sort of like the
Why are they
level
so angry?
of whatever.
They have more safe spaces than I have actual space in my house.
Nothing is good enough for college students, I guess, unless it's literally Obama.
It's social media.
I went to school in Louisiana. My commencement speaker was George Bush. Nobody had any problem with that. All right, so
well done.
One question Republicans need to ask at town halls. This is Swag Daddy 82.
That guy is always,
were you satisfied with your health care before Obama? I'm pretty sure most people were satisfied with their employer-provided health care. Obamacare changed all that. Democrats own that. Thought I get that.
I don't know the answer if you're satisfied with your health care.
Fed Up in Lakewood says, Representative King, can you please clarify what a special prosecutor does?
Basically, he has a free hand to do whatever he wants. He coordinates the investigation. He can keep the investigation going as long as he wants to. And for the most part, I think the experiences of special prosecutors have not been good.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
To me, the one with when Comey appointed Fitzgerald in the White House case, where they went after whoever leaked the story on Valerie Plame, and they got the wrong person, and that's after putting people to the verge of bankruptcy. So to me, they have untrammeled power because there's no one over them. They are in charge.
Republicans should push back hard on this idea.
Absolutely.
Do you think they're pushing back hard enough?
To me, they're not pushing back at all. They're just saying we're not going to do it, but they're not saying why. They sound defensive.
Interesting. I've heard there's kind of a theme with some of what you've said today on the TV version of us and now online, that you think that intestinal fortitude among Republicans, and I'm paraphrasing you,
right,
is not there. What is missing? Why isn't it there?
I just think we should be tougher. Part of it is I can understand. Donald Trump doesn't come from the political world. He made a lot of enemies within the political party. He doesn't represent any one particular faction or group that's going to automatically rally to him. And I think that we're used to having one of our own there. And he's sort of a wild card. And
there's just no getting used to that.
Republicans play nice a lot. I mean, they don't want to upset the cart. They're very. So I think for them,
but you can be nice and forceful.
You got to be forceful because the Democrats They know how to win in the messaging game, and it's very upsetting, I think, on the Republican side, where we do have good, solid messengers that need to go out there and defend this presidency, but they're not used to this type of president.
They're playing you out, Mercedes.
All right, another last one from the chat, because the last few of those came from our chat on our page on FoxNews.com. Congressman King is an excellent guest. Grammy for.
I like that. I agree with that. Here you go.
Thanks for being here, Congressman.
We'll see you tomorrow.
And Mercedes.
Thank you.